Number 12 is a cumulative frequency diagram. Now, when you have been given the cumulative frequency diagram, please note that the answers are exact. What do I mean? There is no range of acceptable answers for this particular question. Why is that? The examiner has provided the curve, so you're just supposed to read off values from the curve. This particular question is testing your ability to understand the concept of cumulative frequency diagrams and also being able to read scales appropriately. Very, very important. Can you read the scale on a diagram? That should be one of the key things you should bear in mind when working on a non-calculator paper. It is very, very important. Now let's read the question. The time spent on the internet by each of 120 adults is recorded for 1 day. The cumulative frequency diagram shows this information. So here's the cumulative frequency diagram provided. And the first question we've been asked is to use the cumulative frequency diagram to find an estimate for the interquartile range. What is the interquartile range? The interquartile range is the difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile. So your interquartile range is equal to upper quartile minus lower quartile. What is the upper quartile? The upper quartile is the 75th percentile of the value on your graph. What do I mean? You find out what 75% of 120 is. You read off that value, trace it to your curve, and trace it down to your x-axis. That will be your upper quartile. Then you do the same thing for your lower quartile. Your lower quartile, upper quartile is 3/4 or 75%. And your lower quartile is 1/4 or 25%. All right, so let's start with our upper quartile being 75%. So upper quartile will be 75% of 120. And that's going to give us what? 75% of 120 is 90. So we come to our y-axis and pick out our 90. You know this starts from 0 and the next big box is 20. So there are 10 little boxes here, meaning each of them is worth 2. Do we understand? So halfway through the 0 and 20 is 10. Therefore, halfway through 80 and 100 is 90. So our 90 point should be somewhere here. So you trace this to the curve and down to the x-axis with a ruler. Okay, that's where it hits the curve and I go down to the x-axis. Now this hits the x-axis right here. Let me do that properly. My line was pretty bent there, so it hits it right here. Yes. So again on your x-axis, you have 4 and you have 6 here, meaning halfway through will be 5. And between 5 and 6, there are 5 little boxes. Therefore, each little box is going to be 0.2. So this is 5. 5.2, 5.4, and 5.6. Therefore, your upper quartile is 5.6. Now, what about the lower quartile? Remember we said the lower quartile is what? 25% of the cumulative frequency. So 25% times 120. And that's going to give us 30. So if you do a quarter of 120, that's also 30 anyway. So what we did the last time, we look for 30 here 30 is halfway between 20 and 40. Here it is here. This is where 30 is. Okay, 30, we trace it to the curve. And we bring it down to the x-axis. On the x-axis, our 30 from the cumulative frequency will give us 4.2. So our lower quartile is 4.2, whereas our upper quartile was 5.6. Therefore, the interquartile range is 1.4. 5.6 minus 4.2 is 1.4. All right. Now the next question. We're told that 75% of the adults spent less than K hours on, let me read that again. 70% of the adults spent less than K hours on the internet. Use the cumulative frequency diagram to find an estimate for the value of K. We're being told that 70%, so let's highlight that. 70% of who? Of the adults. It means we need to find 70% of the total cumulative frequency. Okay, so 70% of 120, that's going to give us 0 here, cancelling this 0, 2 here, 10 here, 10 here 1, and 10 here 12. So that's 7 times 12, that's 84. Remember, there is no calculator here, so you're not bringing out any calculator. So you go to your curve and identify 84 on your y-axis. Remember, we said that was 90. Each little box is 2, so 84 will be right here. We'll trace 84 to our curve. It's right here. And then we trace it down to the x-axis. See, it's pretty close to the original one. That's why you should use a ruler for this. If you trace that down, it's in the box right beside our upper quartile. Okay, so it's right there. That is 5.4. So the value on the x-axis is 5.4. So what will our answer be? Use the cumulative frequency diagram to find an estimate for the value of K. What's our estimated value of K? It's 5.4. We are done with that. Thank you for watching and see you in the next question, where we will be looking at menstruation. Your favorite topic, right? Don't worry, we're going to do this together. Thank you for watching once again. Have you subscribed? Please do.